Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Nishcast. I am the Diggly Dude, Doc, aka Young Slipper, here to talk through some rugby league matters with the Aotearoa Warriors taking on Gold Coast Titans. We also had a Tonga squad named to face the Kiwis. We haven't had a Kiwis squad yet, so when that drops I'll talk about that at the appropriate time, but I do want to talk about Tonga's squad because there's a few interesting talking points there. So if you do love a bit of Tongan rugby league, if you are a bit of a doko, stay tuned because I'll touch on that after the Warriors, and then we'll quickly roll through the Kiwi NRL team list for this week as well. You know the deal, support the Niche Cache as best you can. We are on Patreon, so jump on Patreon and chuck us a little bit of support if that's your buzz. Likes, comments, subscriptions, ratings, reviews, however you want to do it. We love it. We love your support. We love making you guys feel good because that makes us feel good, and we're just here to make everyone feel honka-dory. The Warriors, they are taking on the Gold Coast Titans this week, and it's a niggly little game. Friday night over in the Gold Coast, and the Warriors team has Patrick Herbert coming back at centre in place of Gerard Beale, and then you also have the inclusion of Jazz Tevaga on the bench with Bunty Afoa, Lachlan Burr, Carl Lawton joining Jazz Tevaga on the bench. Other than that, it's a fairly standard Warriors team at the moment, and that's exactly what I want to see. You could make a strong case that the Warriors need to drop people and make changes, but I have said a few times this week that I just want to see the Warriors get themselves out of this hole and see what they can do as a group, as a team, to bounce back from a fairly woeful couple of weeks. So just want to see what the Warriors are up to, how they are approaching what could be a very tricky game. The Gold Coast Titans ransacked the Brisbane Broncos last week, and they'll be eager. They'll know the Warriors might be a bit low on confidence. They'll be sniffing a bit of blood in the water, and they'll be eager to upset the Warriors, if you can call it an upset. As for how the Warriors are going to play, I kind of am reverting back to the vibe from last week against the Melbourne Storm, and that means that I don't really care what the Warriors do. I just want the Warriors to win. Not overly fussed. I think we could, in the wash-up to that loss against Melbourne Storm, I talked a lot about a lack of identity. There's no attacking flair, but there's no defensive prowess either. This is a Warriors team that's a nothing team. They don't have a way of playing, a Warriors way. There's nothing really there, core foundations at the Warriors this season in terms of how they play their footy. So I could understand if it's a bit weird for me to come out after that Storm game and after laying out that vibe to come out and say I don't really care how the Warriors play, because we obviously want to see something in terms of the Warriors' identity, the Warriors' style, the way they go about their business. But most importantly, it is getting the win, and I think there are a few different routes the Warriors could go down. They could really make a key point of going set for set with the Gold Coast Titans. Grind it out with this Titans team. See what they're up to. See how hearty these Titans are. And that will mean kicking, turning the ball over 10 metres out from their try line. The Warriors' first few tackle defense has been fairly consistent all season long, and it's been surprising because the type of thing that could fall away when the Warriors' energy levels and attitude isn't quite there. But I've been impressed with the Warriors' defense in those first few tackles. They're very aggressive. They pick them up, drive them back. I think if they can establish that in terms of turning the ball over down their other end of the field and then winning those first few tackles, I think that could be quite demoralizing to the Gold Coast Titans. Just because I'm not sure where their kind of game-breaking ability sits at the highest level. They've got game breakers, they've got a bit of X factor there, but I'm just not sure if they have the total package to break down a Warriors defense that comes after winning those early tackles. I think those early tackles this week are going to be very important. And by early, I don't mean early in the game, I just mean early in this set. Driving the opponent back, wrestling the fuck out of them, slowing down their play the balls, and just making life really difficult for the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, there is also going to be plenty of pressure on the Warriors' attack, because their attack has been terrible the last few weeks, and that's where a lot of people put their investment in terms of the Warriors' identity. The Warriors are an entertaining team, but they're not entertaining right now, and attack will be important, but I don't think it's what's going to win the Warriors this game. It's a certain level of intensity, it's a certain level of attitude and effort and aggression that's going to win the Warriors this game, and being able to sustain it over a long period of time. So perhaps prepare yourself for a grinding, niggly encounter, because I think the Warriors just need to establish that first and foremost, and then from there build upon the foundations and start to look around and score points. How the Warriors attack will be interesting though, because their attack has been terrible, and I just want to see what attacking patterns the Warriors roll out. Because like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck isn't having a very influential hand in attacking movements. Blake Green's getting a lot of pressure. Cody Nikorima found a bit of space last week against the Melbourne Storm after a quiet game against the Broncos, and he's got to run the footy. Isaac Luke's got to run the footy out of dummy half. The key man for me is Jazz Tevaga, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of impact he has on this team, because he has been absent during these mediocre attacking and defensive games from the Warriors. That just means mediocre games. Like, let's not split them in two. It's a total package performance thing, and the Warriors have been crap in both aspects. Jazz Tevaga could spark a few movements and patterns at the Warriors, and just a certain level of comfort in the middle of the field that hasn't been present. And Jazz Tevaga is not the type of player who's going to have that level of impact on a team where it's like Jazz Tevaga's missing a couple of games, the Warriors are going to lose those games. That's a kind of a false statement, but it's how it panned out. More coincidental, but it's how it panned out. Jazz Tevaga missed a couple of games, the Warriors lost a couple of games. What does Jazz Tevaga offer? At the moment, he is averaging 1.1 offloads per game. He is averaging 1.4 tackle busts a game, which has him ranked, about 7th in tackle busts for the Warriors, which is a fairly good effort, but it's more about how he runs the footy. He jinks, he jives, he cuts back on angles, he offloads at the line, so you've just got a different body shape, a different style of running that can make it tricky to defend. And Jazz Tevaga is also a very good tackler. So Jazz Tevaga makes 27.9 tackles per game on average, as per Fox Sports, and that is the 5th most tackles per game. But Jazz Tevaga only misses 1.1 tackles per game. So just some context here. Jazz Tevaga's 5th in missed tackles. Then you have Tohu Harris. He is 4th. Jazz Tevaga is 5th in average tackles made. Tohu Harris is 4th. Lachlan Burr is 3rd. Adam Blair is 2nd. Isaiah Papali'i is 1st. But those 4 guys, Tohu Harris, Lachlan Burr, Adam Blair, and Isaiah Papali'i, missed tackles. Tohu Harris averages 2.3 missed tackles. Lachlan Burr averages 2.3 missed tackles. Adam Blair only averages 1.2 missed tackles, so he is arguably the most efficient defender at the Warriors, which is interesting for the people who hate on Adam Blair. And then Isaiah Papali'i makes the most tackles, but he also averages the most missed tackles per game, which could be a law of averages type of thing, but I'm not here to break that down. I'm here to break down the fact that Jazz Tevaga tackles a lot, but doesn't miss a lot of tackles. And if you've got Adam Blair and Jazz Tevaga in the middle, only averaging a missed tackle per game, that's pretty good and could help the Warriors defense, although let's not go too deep into analysing the Warriors defense against the Gold Coast Titans, because I doubt their attack will be like a Melbourne Storm, Rabbitohs, Sydney Roosters level of attack that we will see. So it's an interesting game. I'm back on this wagon of just get the win. Just get the dub, get the 2 points, keep it moving. Establish a few key fundamental elements of Warriors footy. I don't want to taint whatever idea you have of Warriors footy. Whatever idea the Warriors have of Warriors footy. I want to see in this game a few points about observations I can make about Warriors footy, because we haven't seen anything about Warriors footy recently. We don't know how the Warriors play their footy, and I want to just get a couple of insights from this game, and a lot of that will revolve around winning the game of footy. I expect the Warriors to win that game. It's going to be tricky, but I expect them to win. Like, they should be winning against the Gold Coast Titans, especially given the situation. I mean, 2 reasonably crap performances. The Warriors got to come back and win. The reserve grade Warriors are at home, North Harbour Stadium, in fact, to the Wentworthville Magpies. This team is fairly as per normal. The back line still Hayes Perham in the centre, still Adam Pompey at fullback. But in the forward pack, we've got Jackson Frey starting again, and Tyler Slade starting at hooker with apparently no cover on the bench, because Sean Mullaney hasn't been named in either lower grade team this week. So Tyler Slade could play 80 minutes at hooker in reserve grade. Forward pack's pretty stock standard. Go check that out. And then the Jersey Flegg team, as per recent times, no changes. Emmanuel Tuamavave-Gero comes back into fullback. William Fakatomafe, I think, sorry about that last name pronunciation, I just don't have it in front of me. He is not at fullback this week. It is Emmanuel Tuamavave-Gero at fullback. In the forward pack, though, we have Alessia Katoa named to start at prop. So last week, he was named to start on an edge. So it's been a pretty interesting progression here for Katoa, because he started on the bench. The next week, he was at edge forward. The next week, he's been named to start at prop, which is interesting, because I've talked a lot about Katoa and how he's an interesting prospect. And now he's starting at prop, so it's a bit of a development there, with Brody Tamarua coming on to an edge forward position in place of Katoa. We do have another lad, Taniela Otukolo, who is named on the bench, who is probably cover for the hooker position, with Richard To'ai named to start at hooker. So no Sean Mullaney in either team this week means, and no Temple Kalepo, who has been playing a fair bit this season as well. On the bench, we also have Naila Masima. He's a Wellington Schoolboy Rugby Union product who I've talked about in patches this season. He is back on the bench. So 2 of the Warriors' development recruits from First 15 Rugby are playing this weekend, which is good. Good to see. Good to see them together. As for Tonga's squad to face Aotearoa, the most notable selection is John Asiata being named. This is a wider squad, so it will get cut down after this round of footy. But at the moment, I think we're going to see John Asiata starting in the halves alongside Tuamoala Lolahia. John Asiata has played for Samoa previously. Now he's playing for Tonga in most likely because he's got like a Tongan mother, Samoan father, or vice versa. But an interesting move there. Moving away from Samoa. This is not good for Samoa because Asiata could have very easily started in the halves for Samoa. And now he's probably going to start in the halves for Tonga. So I don't think this is good for Samoa. The Samoa-Tonga rivalry sits under the radar. And when you've got players leaving Samoa to go play for New Zealand and play for Tonga, it makes for a very interesting dynamic. Like, you've got the complete opposite situation happening for Samoa that you have for Tonga. People want to play for Tonga. People aren't so willing to play for Samoa. Just a very interesting situation there. Another interesting selection is Sione Katoa from the Penrith Panthers. He's named in this wider squad. I don't think Katoa will make the cut for the Tongan team. I think you're going to have Saliva Havili starting at hooker, and then Manasi Fainu is going to come off the bench. Manasi Fainu and Moeaki Fotuaika have both been named in the Tongan squad, which makes them ineligible for Aotearoa. They have both played junior Kiwis before, but as I predicted, they've gone down the Tonga route, which is pretty cool for them because they are excessively talented young rugby league players. And Fainu, I think, is going to knock Sione Katoa out of this Tongan squad. Also got Katoni Staggs. He's going to be very interesting where he plays because he could play at centre, but the Tongan team have Michael Jennings, they've got Solomon Kata, and they've also got Robert Jennings who can play a bit of centre. So I don't know where Katoni Staggs will play, but I think he will be an absolute weapon to have coming off the bench because you're going to have some very powerful forwards on that bench, as well as Manasi Fainu, and I think Katoni Staggs' utility value and his power. This dude is powerful. Like, he's not the biggest dude. He's chunky, he's like athletic, bigger than you and I, but he's ruthless. Katoni Staggs is a gun, and very interested to see if he does make the final cut, and then where he does actually roll out for the Tongan team. Satili Tuponuia has also been named. He's with the Sydney Roosters. He's a Marist Saints junior in Auckland, and been going fantastic for the Roosters. Plays a bit of edge, plays a bit of middle, but he is a contender to miss out on selection. But it's a good nod for Tuponuia to play for Tonga. He's shown this season that he's a very good young prospect with the Roosters, playing middle, playing edge, doing great things. He's tall. He's tall, but he's not skinny. But he's skinny in rugby league standards. But he gets the job done fantastically well. If I was going to say who misses out in this forward pack, obviously plenty of depth in the Tongan forward pack. I think you're going to see Satili Tuponuia miss out on selection, and I'd go with Tavita Tatola. Tavita Tatola has been in great form for the South Sydney Rabbitohs this season, but he's not better than Moeaki Fotuaika. Fotuaika is an absolute monster through the middle with the Gold Coast Titans, and I think you're going to see Tatola and Tuponuia miss out on selection for Tonga. But that's just a little run through of their squad. I'll write about that tomorrow, and we will also get that ironed down. I might just wait actually until it gets cut down just to see what happens, but we'll see about that. In terms of Kiwi NRL selection this week, Raiders versus Sharks. This is a bloody interesting game. I'm very excited about the Raiders Kiwi NRL contingent. You got Shans Nickel Clockstad, Bailey Simonson, Jordan Rapana. So you got an all Kiwi NRL back three for the Canberra Raiders. Havili is at hooker. Joseph Tapine starting at lock, which is ruthless. I love that forward pack for the Canberra Raiders, and they're going to have to be bloody good because the Sharks forward pack's all good. Sasai Feki starting on the wing. Very interesting battle here. I think you're going to have Britton Nakora lining up against John Bateman. John Bateman has been fantastic for the Raiders. So has Nakora for the Sharks. and Nakora is playing for a Kiwi spot. I can easily see Nakora starting on an edge for the Kiwis, especially now that it appears that Tohu Harris is going to make himself unavailable for selection via a knee injury. So watch this game. This game's going to be already played by the time you listen to it, probably. So sorry about that. But Nakora versus Bateman. Very interesting to see what happens there and how Nakora holds up against John Bateman, who's been fantastic. Sean Johnson may return for this game, hopefully just in time to come back into Kiwis contention. And then you've also got Braden Hamlin-Uele, who comes off the bench for the Sharks. He's a gun and could be... I don't think he's in Kiwis contention, but he's going to be a possibility for Samoa if he does want to play for Samoa. Titans versus Warriors. Titans have Jesse Arthurs at centre and Fotuaika at prop. Then we have Cowboys versus West Tigers. Cowboys down, Buzz. They've only got Jason Taumalolo, who was a monster last week. I ran through his stats in the Kiwi NRL Encyclopedia for this round, so go check out his crazy stats. Isan Masters at centre for the Tigers, Benji Marshall in the halves, Matalino at prop, Cheekam starting on an edge, and Josh Alawai, another Samoan contender. He is on the bench. Reckon the Tigers will be up for that one. They'll be eager for a victory. They've had a little low patch, and I think they'll get the win over the Cowboys. Storm versus Knights. Jerome Hughes versus Kalen Ponga. Ponga's the man. I love Kalen Ponga. I also really like Jerome Hughes. Jesse Bromwich, Asaf Solomona and Kenny Bromwich in the Storm forward pack with Brandon Smith coming off the bench. The Knights have Sean Kenny-Dow on the wing. James Gavey comes into a starting role with Herman Ese coming off the bench for the Knights. I think the Storm, that's going to be a very interesting game as well. The Knights are red hot at the moment. I just think the Storm will be too good at home. Rabbitohs versus Panthers. Rabbitohs are just a team of haters. Mawene Hiroti is not going to play, I doubt it. And so they have no Kiwi NRL players. Panthers have a very small contingent now as well with the exit of Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. James Fisher-Harris is starting at prop these days, playing through the middle. And then on the bench you got Jerome Luai, who is on the bench with Wade Egan. So where Jerome Luai plays will be interesting, or even if he's in that top 17, because Mitchell Kenny starts at hooker, Wade Egan offers cover at hooker. Jerome Luai has been playing in the halves, can play hooker, and he's also on the bench. So interesting to see what happens with Jerome Luai in that team. And Moses Leota is also on the bench for the Penrith Panthers. Eels versus Broncos. The Eels have Josh Hoffman in their backline starting at centre. Then you've got Manu Ma'u starting on an edge, preparing to start on an edge for Tonga. Then you've got Penny Terapo, who will be on Tonga's bench. Penny Terapo's an undercover gun, and Marata Niukore is named in the 17 jersey. Brisbane Broncos only have Jermaine Isako, no Alex Glenn this week for the Brisbane Broncos. Sea Eagles versus Dragons. Sea Eagles have Tapau starting at prop, Manasi Whanau coming off the bench, Adam Whanua-Blake starting at prop as well. Dragons, haters. No one. Jordan Pereira is playing reserve grade these days for the Dragons. And yeah, just going back to that Panthers versus Rabbitohs game, no Sione Katoa. He has not been named this week for the Panthers, sorry. Then we have Roosters versus Bulldogs. Roosters, same old crew. Joseph Manu, Zane Teravano, Siaso Tokiaho, Isaac Liu, Satili Tuponuia, he is on the bench. And then Pawasa Fatmasili, he is on the extended bench. Bulldogs, just a cheeky note here. I don't think the Bulldogs are an amazing footy team, but I am thinking about putting together a Kiwi NRL power rankings just in terms of not power rankings, just Kiwi NRL teams who you should support, or teams who may tickle your fancy as a Kiwi NRL fan based on quantity and quality. So the number of Kiwi NRL players and how good those Kiwi NRL players combine for team performances. Bulldogs have the quantity. So if you're looking for a little Kiwi NRL team to rally behind over the next few weeks, get behind the Bulldogs, because Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is starting at centre, and that will mean that he is either playing on the same side of the field as Remus Smith, who is a fantastic young winger for Aotearoa, or Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is going to play on the other side of the field where Kieran Foran operates and Raymond Faitala-Mariner also plays on an edge. So either edge, you're going to have Kiwi NRL extravaganza. Jeremy Marshall-King at hooker. Hopefully he runs the footy like he did last week. And then we've got Kori Harawira-Naera and Suaso Su on the bench for the Bulldogs. No Ofahiki Ogden, which is a bummer. Ogden's... he's great. He's good. He's a fantastic young forward. And kind of surprising to see him miss out on Tongan's squad selection. Although not surprising given how stacked that forward pack is. But he's an interesting Tongan prospect to watch out for there. Not in the top 17 this week, but should be. But whatever. And that's it for the Kiwi NRL teamless breakdown. Warriors versus Titans Friday night. Reserve grade and Jersey Flegg. Jersey Flegg, let me just, who cares? They are playing Wentworthville Magpies. With the Warriors, just watch out for Jazz Tevaga's impact. And then a couple of highlights in the NRL this week. The Bulldogs. This is Watene-Zelezniak's first game at centre for the Bulldogs. So watch the Bulldogs just to see how they play. Kieran Foran needs a great game to put himself in the Kiwis mix. So watch out for Kieran Foran with the Bulldogs and Watene-Zelezniak. And then another little highlight for me this week, apart from that Bulldogs Raiders versus Sharks game. That's going to be interesting. But as I said, you will be listening to this probably after that game. But I'm interested in how Britton Nakora performs against John Bateman. That's an interesting matchup, that one. Then I'd also have the Storm versus the Knights. The best way for the Storm to shut down the Knights is going to be with their forward pack. From a Kiwi NRL perspective, that means Jesse Bromwich and Nelson Sofa-Solomona, along with Dale Finucane. But the Kiwi NRL middle forwards, Jesse Bromwich and Nelson Sofa-Solomona, they are going to have to be at their very best to shut down the Knights forward pack. So it's a huge test for Jesse Bromwich and a Sofa-Solomona, especially coming into Kiwi selection. But if that Knights forward pack gets a bit of a roll on, they're going to be very difficult to stop, because that brings Callum Ponga into the game, that brings Mitchell Pearce into the game. So watch out for Jesse Bromwich and a Sofa-Solomona against the Knights forward pack. That's it for this weekend. Round 14 in the NRL. Kia kaha, stay beautiful, and I'll be back early next week. We will be recording a Black Caps episode tomorrow, Friday afternoon, after the Black Caps take on India. So watch out for that one. Otherwise, later, boat.